Today, go ahead and take this motor out and do a little video on how to take the motor out. I know there's tons of them out there, but I'll show you guys the way that I do it. Might be a little different than what some other guys do, but it's pretty simple. VW motors are real easy to take out. I think it's kind of cool, and I'll show you guys this stuff because a lot of you guys are getting into this stuff and you're going, hey man, I want a 1600, I got a early bug, or I want a bigger motor than that. Just so you know, the larger the engine, the harder it is to fit in an early car, because this 40 horse is about almost an inch more narrow here and here than a 1600. Now when you get to a bigger motor than that, what happens is the cylinder shims added in the middle make the motor a little bit wider. That's why a lot of guys run dual carbs, because it's a little difficult to put the boots on some of those big motors. So anyway, so if you're having trouble getting your motor in your car, in an early car, they fit usually, but it takes a lot more finesse, and sometimes you can't run heater boxes. You got to run J tubes because it's just too tight. Because when those heater boxes go around this way, it tends to hit up in the corners. I've seen guys notch out the corners just to get them to go in. I don't like to do that, but anyway, I'm going to show you guys. This motor should be coming out real easy because it's the right motor for the car. So that's, if you're having trouble, that's probably why, if you have a 1600 in the late, early car. All right, we'll show you how to do it real quick. First thing you want to do is disconnect your wiring harness. So basically, these wires here going to the front of the car are not hot. I have the battery still connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap this guy up with tape. I don't feel like taking the battery out or removing the battery cables. And then, so you got your wires to the front of the car. So you got your oil sending unit, got your sending unit for your what's it called, voltage regulator or alternator, and then they go in the loom, and you just put them to the side. If you want to, you can put a piece of tape here. That helps sometimes. Then the next thing is, real quick, just really curious to see what's wrong with this. So your 17 millimeter wrench with your left hand facing the front of the car, reach back in here and you can find the engine bolt. The engine hasn't been on this car in a long time, so wouldn't be surprised if there's some rust. Now as you turn the threads on this, what you want to do is kind of pull back on the bolt a little bit. This one here is actually pretty snug in the hole, which is nice. Got it off really quick. Air cleaner's off. Now the same thing on this side. 17 millimeter wrench with your right hand facing the front of the car. Reach in here. Take that guy off. And the motor's not going to fall out. It's going to give you a little bit of resistance right here because it's starting to hang on those bottom two bolts. Often when I'm working on them, if you can even see it down there to where I'm at, you can't even really see it. You have to feel it. You have to feel back in there. A lot of guys, some guys will use one of my friends uses a ratcheting box end, which works pretty good. There's a bolt back in there. I'm going to pause this for a second while I can reach in there. It takes a little bit of time to get this one out. because your motor's hanging. But if you do the starter side first, of course the threads are a little bit dirty. I can feel it. So, motor's been in the car a long time. It was out right before I got it, I think. Someone took it out and they did some work on the heads, trying to figure out what that noise was. I want to find out if it's a piston or if it's a rod. Be interesting to know. Well, it's just as I figured. Probably gonna need to. They have a little special wrench that you can actually put on there. It holds that bolt in place. Probably gonna spin on me, so I might have to use my vice grips, lock them in up there. It's a little tricky, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and take off the cable. So usually this is an 8mm barrel nut. Sometimes they're a screwdriver, but usually it requires 2 hands, but maybe not today. So that's off. Slide this guy out. You can always remove the distributor cap real quick. You just use your same 8mm wrench and just shove it in the side. And it works pretty good as a pry bar. The distributor cap is always the easiest thing to get out of the way versus trying to fight stuff. It's so easy just to slide that guy out. Don't be afraid of it. Okay, the barrel nut's loose. That's out. Speedo cable, the throttle cable's loose. In fact, I usually like to put a clamp on the other side of this. Originally, this had a spring here to hold this so that it doesn't move back and forth. When I get done, I'll put a hose clamp on the other side so that it doesn't move back and forth. If it moves back and forth, your throttle cable can stick, and it's no fun. So remember, the proper way to do this is actually remove the battery cable, but my seat's inside. I don't want to get it dirty. So I just spun some tape around this. This is the hot lead. It goes hot from here through the voltage regulator to the front of the car, through the harness to the front of the car. And that's so there's no power up front right now. All there is power at this right here and at the battery at the starter. So with that, I got to jack it up in the air and take loose the underneath bolts. I'll show you where those are. Alright, so at this point, you definitely want the car on safety stands. And you see these safety stands here. Do not get the ones that are made out of sheet metal. I've actually had one of those, the ear bent on it, and the car fell on me back years ago in a VW. So make sure it's on the safety stands and it's not where it can wiggle its way off, because when you start wiggling that motor out, it'll come off the safety stands if they're not under there properly. Alright, so anyway, I forgot to pause it there. Something happened. But anyway, I'm trying to get this last few threads out of this bolt. And it's just being a real pain. It's typical old car stuff. You always have this stuff going on. And have to kind of pull out on it. It feels like it's got the bolt that has the I'm gonna have to go discipline my dog. He's out trying to get rabbits. So anyway, I just realized I gotta take the oil out of this thing. Definitely want to do that if I'm gonna tear this motor apart real quick and see what's going on with it. Before I get it out of the car. It's a lot easier to do now. But pretty much that's it. Once you get that loose, put your jack right under the center of your, use that this guy here to center it. Put your jack right on that fella and just start pulling it. Pull the engine back a little bit, tip it. It'll tip down at an angle, and then you have to do that so that you can get past the heater boxes, past the round portion. That's where you always get hang-ups, is right there. And you'll have to angle it one way, angle it the other way to get those heater boxes through. Once you get those heater boxes out, be careful with your cable. Start pulling it through as you go so you don't stretch it out. And then just drop the motor down, raise the car up, slide the motor out, start, you're done. So that's pretty much how you get the motor out of a bug. It's not hard to do. Usually some guys do them in 3 minutes, or something like that, but not anymore. I don't care about that. If it takes me 20 minutes, I'm fine. That's usually about how long it takes, 20-30 minutes, and you can do it. All right, talk to you in the next video.